Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Rochester Xamarin. It's November 11th, 2020. Before we get started with introducing our presenter, I always like to thank our sponsors. The .NET Foundation provides our meetup subscription, so all of you could find how to get here, which is awesome. We have a lot of people coming today that are already here, which is really exciting. And my company, File on Q, provides the use of Microsoft Teams so we can all come and do this online. Today we have Stefanija coming from Macedonia. It's very late her time. I really appreciate you coming so late. I believe it's 12:30 tomorrow. Time traveler you is here to talk about Xamarin UI testing and Azure DevOps and AppCenter. I've been following Stefanija for the past few months. We met each other on Twitter, and I saw her blogging about Azure DevOps and a couple other topics in the Xamarin space. And I reached out and said, we need to get you to come and do a session. You're blogging about really awesome stuff. So without further ado, I'm gonna spotlight you so your video shows up and everything, and I'll stop presenting and you can go and take it away.
Thank you, Andrew, for the kind words. So, yeah, my name is Stefanija, and today I will be presenting on Xamarin UI testing with using Azure DevOps and the AppCenter. Firstly, I would like to thank you for having me here, and also would like to thank you everyone for joining this session. I will tend to make it available. So I will just share my screen right now. So I think, okay, we have that. So I hope everyone is watching right now. Should be fine. Okay, so I will be short on the theory, and I will try to share more in to present more, and you will see the things practical. So this is session. And why do we, first I will start with why do we need the testing? We'll need, of course, if you're having a product that you want to host it on the store, to publish it on the store, or you want to share it with some internal. We have some interruption here. You cannot see the presentation?
We see the screen.
Oh, okay. I can continue.
Just a reminder, everyone, please have your mics muted or I will go and mute you.
Okay, so let's continue. So why do we need the testing? If you're having a product that you want to publish on the store, or you want to share with some internal testers to try it out, then the app must be tested, of course. And why is that? So if you want to create a positive picture for your product and you want to get a positive feedback, of course, from the market and the users, then we will have to do the testing. What is the UI testing? So UI testing means that if we're having a mobile app, then all the views and designs that are in that app must be functioning well. So for today's presentation, if you're having a product and that it does not matter if it's created from a scratch or it is an already existing product, your work will be divided into some parts, and those parts will be created somewhere on some service, and those parts will be in this scenario will be our tickets, and they will be hosted on the Azure DevOps because we'll be using the Azure DevOps services for this presentation. So so today I will be the developer and the tester in the project, and I will get a ticket for creating and testing a registration flow. I hope you can see the pictures here. If they do not look fine right now, I will show them afterwards as well. So what are our requirements? I will go to the Azure DevOps and show them right away. So if I go inside my project from my organization here on the Azure DevOps and navigate to the boards, here I can see that here, just wait a bit. Here I can see that there is a ticket created for and assigned on myself. If I click on the ticket to see what I have to create for this demonstration, I will see that there is some description, and that will be the requirements for our app. If it first says that I can take a look at the attached files for the UI design, and here are the files, and they both are the same as the one presentation. So let's take a quick look at the requirements. In the requirements, we can see here that for this flow, I will have to create two screens, the registration screen and the welcome screen. Let's read the requirements for the registration screen. So in the registration screen, we'll have to have 4 entries, and they will be the name, the username entry, the email entry, password, and confirm password at entry. They also on the registration screen should contain a registration button that will verify our entries. And here in the 3 next steps, we have some requirements that needs to be satisfied. First, for successful registration, all entries must not be null and empty. So all the username, the email, password, and confirm password have to be fulfilled, and they should also satisfy the next 2 steps. So for the email address, we'll have to have a valid email address, and for the passwords, they have to match. After typing all this, and after everything is verified and successful, user should be navigated to the second created screen, and that's the welcome screen. So these are the requirements for this ticket. For that, I will not. For this, I will not. Okay, I will not go to the development, but I will skip that step and go directly on the testing, because that's what are we going to discuss. Just briefly show you that I have created a Xamarin app that is written in Forms, and here you can see there is the Forms project, the Android, iOS, and the UI test, of course, which we'll need afterwards in the Azure DevOps. So okay, let's see if I run that on the simulator. Here I can see, okay, here is my project. I will open it, UI testing demo. If I run that successful, this will appear. Okay. And it's a little bit slow, I don't know why, but it should start. Okay, so here is the register screen. If I type this all, and they all satisfy the requirements on the register, I should expect to see the welcome screen. So let's get back to the presentation. Okay. Now what do we expect from our flow? It's of course to be working. So let's take a look at the two main approaches that we use for testing. Those are the manual and the automated testing. So for the manual testing, we'll have to have a human tester that will do the job. And for the automated testing, we'll have to have a software program that will that will run the UI test. And the good thing here is the Azure DevOps satisfies both of them. So they can be done in the Azure DevOps, both of them. So for this flow, we'll create now a test case that later on we can see how to manually run and automated run on the Azure DevOps. So first, let's repeat the 3 requirements. So we have 3 requirements. All the fields must not be null or empty. The email should be valid, and the passwords must match. So First thing here is that we'll have to enter a username. The username will be my surname and the first letter of my name. Oops, I have a mistake here, so it should say enter email, enter password, and enter confirm password. I have mistaken the writings here in the presentation, but it's fine. You can see here this is email, the password, and the confirm password. Next thing is to verify all these requirements, and then tap on the registration button. So after this, then the welcome screen should appear. If we take a closer look at this test case, we can notice that this will represent a really familiar pattern. So the AAA pattern. The arrange will be our setup of the fields. The act will be tapping on the method, so it will be the method verification. And from the cert, we expect the welcome screen to appear. So having this test case scenario, now we'll see how to do the manual and the automated testing on the Azure DevOps. First, I will go back inside of my Azure DevOps project and in my organization and show how to do the manual testing. Manual testing in the Azure DevOps is usually done in the test plans. If I go on the test plans here, I can see that I do not have a test plan right now. So here I can create a new test plan. Because I have only one, all this will be effectively, let's say that this will be my first story. Here I can add sprint 1 as the name of my test plan and create the new test plan. So what's next thing? Next thing as the next step, we'll have to set the configuration for our test plan. And click here. If I click here on the sign configuration, here I can see there are two types of configuration, and because it is a Xamarin app, here I will choose the second one. So my configuration name will be the iPhone and the operating system will be the iOS 13, which is the same as in my device that I've created the app. So the app, it's because the app is in forms, there is an Android project as well, and the Android app that is running successfully, but from the time purposes, I will use only the iOS for now. Let's get back and I will save this. Next thing to do is to create a new suite. So let's create a requirement-based suite. So what are the suites? Actually, they will keep the statuses of the work items. And of course, afterwards, if you do have some bugs that will appear on your test, they will be connected in your work items. So if I set everything on default here and run my query, here my task will appear. If I had multiple tasks here, tasks in the pipeline, in the board, they will all appear in here. So let's create a suite from my only task here. Once I create the suite, here it appears that I can create a test case. If I click on the new test case, now I will add the test case that I've shown you on the presentation. So what will be the name of our test case? Our test case represents a successful registration flow. So I will put a name like here, like successful. Okay, I think I made a mistake. Successful registration flow. So this is our expectation from this test case. Usually, if you're having a real project, there will be more requirements and there will be more test cases. For the steps, we will add that test case in the presentation and our UI test. For that, I've created I've created here a little notepad file so I can copy paste it. So do not type the to save on time. I will copy the steps from here. So first thing is to enter the username. Next thing to do is to enter a valid email. Next step is to enter valid password, and next thing to do is to confirm the passwords. So what I do expect next to click on the registration button and verify that all requirements are fine. So after that, after everything is successfully done there, I will expect the welcome screen to appear. So having all these steps put here, I will have, and if they all are successful, then I will have a successful registration flow. So let's save that and close for now. Once I've saved that and close it, I can see here that my test case for this work item appear inside of my test plans. So let's execute that. It's good here that test cases can be run for any web application, mobile application, desktop application, and whatever. So I will run my test case here, and a new window will appear with the steps. So we must remember here that this is manual testing of our applications. So what will we expect? We expect an iPhone and a human tester. The human tester for the testing right now would be myself. So I will right now open the Run app here and follow the steps that were provided in my test case. So first thing is to enter a username. Enter this username. So in the username field, I will enter my username. Oops, I don't need that. Okay. I don't know why I'm getting Cyrillic here. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, I will let me just try to close the app and see if the keyboard. Okay, I will just try something like this. Okay. Okay, now I have the English keyboard finally, and let's get back and follow our steps. Here I will have to type my username. On the email address, I will put a valid email address, one that is provided on the steps. So I can see here that these steps were successful, so I can right away mark them as successful. Click here on successful. Next thing to do here is to enter a password. My password is test111 exclamation mark, and to confirm password I will add test111 exclamation mark, so I can see here that both of them matched. That's not something of an interest because we're just testing the UI right now. So we are not testing the business logic, but just testing the UI. So click here. So I've entered successfully the password and enter the confirm password. So I can mark them, of course, as correct right here. Next thing is to click on the register button. By clicking on the register button, I was successfully redirected on the welcome screen. So here I can mark all this, of course, I can mark these two as successful as well. So now I can save this. But let's say if something failed, for example, if this registration tab button failed and the welcome screen does not appear, now I would click on the fail test tab, and here I can write a comment that on clicking on the test registration button, the welcome screen does not appear. So I will mark this as false as well, and then write something like the welcome screen registration button, click. So you'll add something more here, and if you click here on create issue, you can see here that issue will be created for you with the steps here, which one passed and which one failed. Here on the related work item, you can see that this issue was connected with the create registration flow work item. So this way, it's how you are going to track the statuses of your test cases connected to your work item. But because I do not have any issues right now, I will discard this one, and because it was safe, I can just close this window. Here I can see that my test case passed. So in a real project, of course, as I said in the beginning, you will have multiple test cases and you will have multiple work items. And basically, with this, we cover the concept of creating. We cover the concept of creating a manual tests inside the Azure DevOps. So let's see how to do the automated testing right now. To do automated testing, first we'll have to cover the three main steps that needs to be done. So first thing to do is to have an executable file. Because it is a Xamarin project, we'll have the APA file or AAB file, for the Android project, and you will have the APA file for the iOS app. So next thing to do is to have a build assemblies that will execute on your APA or on your APK file inside the AppCenter. So we'll use the AppCenter to test on many devices and screens. Can show you here, if I go on the AppCenter quickly, in the test, here I have device sets. The good thing here is the AppCenter gives us lots of devices. If I click on the new set, I have already created a set, but if I click on new device set here, and because it is an iOS project, I can see here that there are lots of Apple devices given for us. So if I select that, if I select them all, I can see that there are 362, I think, 382 devices given for us for testing. So if I put a device set name, then I can use all those devices for testing my app. So here I will open the already created device set just to show you what's inside of it. Okay. So here I just added one Apple device, the same one that I was using for testing. So the device, the test will run faster, and we can see that running inside our test runs in the AppCenter. So next, as we said here, next thing that we'll need to do is to have to have test assemblies that will be executed on our executable file on our package file that will create from the Visual Studio. So what will open next is our test project. Inside my UI testing demo UI test project, I have test class that is representing my test scenarios and my test cases. As I said, for this demo, we have only one test, and what we expect from that test is to user to successfully register on our app. So here we can see the test that was shown on the presentation as well. So here, if app will enter text inside my username entry, and that will be my username. And the same things will be done with the email, the password, and the confirm password. Then next step is to tap the register button, and what do we expect? The app to do not throw unable to find the welcome ID. So what do we quickly for the unit test? How do we expect to do the navigation? the user was successfully navigated, then we expect to find some element on that screen. And here in our app, that element is our label for welcome. If you're asking what are these, enter username ID, enter email ID, those are our automation IDs. Automation IDs are defined on each element that we'll need for testing. So for example, for the user ID, I have automation ID and entry username ID, and for all others. So let's get back to the Azure DevOps and see how we can run this test from the Azure DevOps to the AppCenter. So what are we going to use the Azure DevOps for? We're going to be using the Azure DevOps to create a tunnel from our project and the AppCenter. So we will create the tests, assemblies, the API file, and execute those on the AppCenter. If I click here on the pipelines, I can create a new pipeline for that. So to have, first, as I said, we'll have to have the API file because I'm now presenting on the iOS project. So that API file needs to be pushed somehow on the Azure DevOps. You can have here multiple options to do that. For example, you can publish it inside your library here in the in the library. Here in the secure files where I keep now my provisioning profiles and my certificate, you can have the API file and pull that on the pipeline later on for so that can be used for testing on the AppCenter. Or you can create a pipeline that will create the API file for that. For the testing purposes, I've done that from my for my presentation today, but will not put much focus on that because we want to put our focus on the UI testing. So here you can see that I have created a UI. I have created UI testing Xamarin iOS continuous integration pipeline, which contains my API file. Here in the artifacts, if I open the drop folder, you can see the UI testing iOS API file. Quickly, I will edit this pipeline so you can see what's inside. And here is the common steps for creating an executable file from iOS project. So here there is I'm installing the certificates and the provisioning profile, the NuGet restore, and then building the iOS solution in creating the artifact and the API, meaning the API file. So let's get back inside of the pipelines and create the pipeline for testing. Here, for the automated test here, if I click on new pipeline, I can use a classic editor or create a pipeline with YAML. So for the presentation purposes, I will choose the classic editor and you can choose whatever fits you well. By clicking on that, next thing is to choose where my source, where my repository is hosted. So my repository is hosted right now. This project is hosted inside the GitHub. So I will pull that project from there. Let's get back, and for source, I will choose GitHub. For the repository, I will choose Xamarin UI testing demo because that's my solution. For the default branch is the master branch, so I'm fine for everything right now, and I will continue. Here, next thing to do is to choose a template. There is no specific template for building the app, to building the UI tests inside of the AppCenter. Usually, they go both on the Xamarin Android task and the Xamarin iOS. But I do not have, I do not want it right now. Just want to create an empty pipeline that will be specifically for the UI test. By clicking on that, here I can add a meaningful name of my pipeline. So here UI testing. There's some suggestions of something I've already created, so I will add something different here. UI testing, continuous integration for UI tests on AppCenter. You can add something else or whatever fits you. So next thing here is on the pipeline to choose the agent that will build our app. So what are the agents? Actually, agents is the machine that is building your app and your test, of course, for this solution. So there are two types of machines. There are the hosted ones. If you choose the hosted, then you will be given a machine that is capable for building that. And you can choose to use the self-hosted, which I will use right now. So meaning that by choosing self-hosted, you will have to set a machine that is capable for building the project. And for this scenario, this will be my machine here. Will build our app. So choosing that in the agent pool here, if I go on the agent job, I can add some meaningful name for my face, and it will be running UI tests on AppCenter. And if from the agent pool, I can inherit from a pipeline. So my machine will be pre-selected here. So we set up the pipeline and general things for the pipeline and for this phase. There are other fields in here, but I think that for now we are fine with all that. Next thing to do is to add tasks. What we'll have to do, as I said, there are three things that must be done. First, we'll have to run the build assemblies, get the API file, and run all of that on the AppCenter. So here, first thing to do is to add the NuGet, restore the NuGet, and restore the NuGets for our project. So I will choose the NuGet tool installer, and of course the NuGet restoring task. Here I will add a version for my NuGet restore, and for the NuGet restore I will need in the solution to choose the solution which in this case is my UI testing demo solution. If I did not, if you have multiple solutions inside your project, which is not the case, you can choose that, or you can just stay like it. You can leave it like it is, but I will just select that, and here I can see that my solution was added in here. So everything else is fine right now. Next thing to do here is to download the API file from my previous pipeline. So I will choose download. I'll choose download build artifacts task, and here that are some requirements that will need to satisfy. The name, you can display name, you can put a meaningful name for yourself. For download artifacts here I will choose, because you can have another phase here that will build your iOS project, and if that was the case, you can choose here a current build. But because that's not the case in my scenario, I will choose a specific build, and this will be my project will be the UI testing demo, and the build pipeline will be the one I've shown you previously. So I will show you again. Okay, so this is the pipeline that builds my app, and here it's my here in the artifacts is my API file. So this is the pipeline. Here I can choose that as well. For the build version, you can choose the latest one, or you can choose a specific version that if you want to use some other build for your app. Having this, Next thing to do is to specify the file that we want to be taken from the artifacts from this pipeline, because here you can see that I have only one file, but not if you have multiple API files, you'll have to specify which one you want to use, or you can have other other things inside here. So we need to specify the file that we want to specifically download. So in the here I can type specific files, and I will add matching pattern because I have only one API file. I will not need that name right now, and I will add a file that matches this pattern. So it will be random name, and you have to end on API. So this will be saved. This will be saved on the artifacts directory. What is the artifact directory? Because once I started with Azure DevOps, I was really confused with these variables. So I will just show you how simple it is. If I go inside of my agent, because the agent is installed in my machine, here you can see in the work folder, you can see there are some folders that are marked with some numbers 4, 5, 6, and if I click on one of them, I can see that I have once the job is initialized and the project is pulled from the source, you can see that in your machine the folder numbered folder will be created for you, and these 3 folders are mandatory: the A, B, and C. A is the artifacts folder, B is the binary, and C is the source. In the A we will put the artifacts, in the B we'll put the binaries, and the S will be our source. Here we can see that I have the UI testing demo. So this API file will be in our A folder, or the artifact directory. Next thing to do is to run the UI tests and create the build assemblies. So I will choose an MS build here, and for the name I will not choose build solution, but I will choose build UI tests project. So for the project, I will choose the UI test project. Okay, let's go and choose the CS proj here. For the MS build version, I will stay on the latest, whatever, but this does not matter much, because if you choose whatever you choose here, if it's not found on the machine, the task will know to get the latest one that is installed on your machine. For the MS build architecture, I will choose 64. For the platform, you can choose any CPU, 64, 86, but I will leave it empty right now because I don't need that. And for the configuration, I will set up the configuration that my UI tests are run on. So usually, if you're having a real project, you will have multiple environments like alpha, beta, production, or you can have whatever fits your project. So that's what is set up in this configuration field. Because I want my project to run, my test to run on release, here I can put a release. But because this is something that I may use throughout all this pipeline, I will define this one inside my variables in here. So I will go in the variables and add a new variable. So the name of the variable will be build configuration. And in the build configuration variable name, variable value, I will put release. Here you can choose to lock it, but because it's not a secret, I will leave it this way. I will copy that and paste it inside the configuration field here. So now we have our UI test built in release. Next thing to set up here is to set where we want our build assemblies to be created. So in the MS build arguments, I will put as an output path to create build assemblies in the binaries folder. So how to do that? I will just focus on this one because I do a lot of mistakes when I'm writing. So in our output path will be build binary directories, and we will add some folder in here, which will be UI tests. So if you have something else that needs to be done, needs to be put in the build directory, you will know that the test will be inside your build, inside your UI tests folder. And having all this set up, we are fine with the UI tests. Task. Next thing to do is, because now we have the API file, we have the build assemblies for the UI test. Next thing is to connect this to the AppCenter. Here in the task, I can choose the AppCenter task and add it inside my pipeline. So there are some setups that needs to be done here. What first thing we'll need to set is to put the binary application file path. So binary application file path is our where our API file was put. So we know that it was put in the artifacts directory. And here we can see, if we go on the pipeline, we can see here that, okay, I did not expect this to happen. We can see here that it's in a drop folder, and the name is UI testing demo.ios.apa. Okay. So I will add here drop folder and the name of my API file, UI testing demo, I think, yes, demo.ios.apa. So here we'll have our API file inside of we'll take the API file from our artifacts directory, UI testing demo, iOS, API. Okay, next thing is to set a test framework. Because our app was written in Xamarin, we'll choose as a test framework the Xamarin UI tests. And in the build directory here, we can see that we'll have to set the build directory with the build test assemblies. As we set that here, I can copy that and paste it right on, because my UI test assemblies will be in the binaries or in the B folder inside here. I do not have any store password or key alias or key password, so that can be left empty for now. Next thing to do is to set the test tools directory. This is something which is really important, because the AppCenter used the test cloud exe file from your UI test to run the test inside the AppCenter. Okay, this was abstract. We will show it we'll show it right away. If I open the Visual Studio here, you can see that I have installed the Xamarin UI test package file, which version is 3.0.7. Packages in your project can be stored inside your solution, inside your folder, or they can be stored inside of the root of your machine, which is a case for my project. So the packages are not inside my project, but they're on the root folder inside my machine. So here in the NuGet, and if I choose packages, I will scroll down and find my Xamarin UI test package folder. Here I will have to find the correct version, and inside the tools folder I see the test cloud exe file. So now I will just go get info here, and here I can copy the root, I can copy the path for my test cloud exe, and that way AppCenter will find this exe folder and will execute the test from our UI test package. This is easy if you're using your machine as a machine for building the project. What if you were using a hosted Azure? If you were using a hosted Azure machine, then you'll have to set the packages path inside of your configuration, inside of your solution, or you can set something like, okay, navigate back to two folders and then find a NuGet folder, packages, and then the Xamarin UI test. So that can be set inside your configuration, or you can just use the easy step and put the packages inside your project for re-downloading once they're once you pull your project from some service. But because I'm using my machine right now, I'm okay with this file path. So now with this setup, now we have the setup for the UI test. What's the next thing? Next thing is to connect with the Azure, with the App Center. So in the second step here is the run test. First thing is to set an authentication method. You have credentials and the app service connection. What's the main difference between these two? Credentials are only used for this pipeline. An App Center service connection can be used for multiple pipelines, of course, if you allow that. Here on the App Center service connection, you can see that I have already created an App Center UI testing project connection for the App Center. If you want to know how to do that, you can click on the manage here, and you can in the service connection, you can create a new connection which will be of type Visual Studio App Center. Which will be of type Visual Studio App Center. If I click to edit that, you can see that there is an API token. That API token can be get from the settings inside your App Center project. And then you will only have to put a meaningful name for your connection. And of course, you can grant access if you want to this connection to be used in multiple pipelines for your project. And then just save and refresh here so your connection will appear. Now I have the connection to the App Center. Next thing is to define the AppSlack. What is AppSlack? Actually, AppSlack represents the name of my it is a combination of the name of my organization in the App Center and the name of my project. So if I click here on the overview, I can see that here on the top I have the name of my organization and the name of my project. So that way the App Center task from the Azure DevOps will know to which project to run our UI tests on the App Center. Let's get back. I copy paste that and I will just remove these apps from here. So now I have the AppSlack. Next thing is to set the devices. How do I set the devices? This is something similar as the AppSlack. So it's the name of my organization and is the name of my device set. And the device set is something that I've shown you previously on when I was showing you how what devices do App Center gives us for testing. So I will copy this one as well and set it inside the devices. So we have test series. If you have symbols for the iOS, you can add your system language, but I'm fine with that being default. So having all this here, I have everything set up for my task for the App Center. So now I can save that and queue it to see my test for successful registration running on the App Center. Let's queue this one and see if we set everything properly inside this text. So this will appear right now, and okay, I will just wait this to be initialized. It might.
While that runs, we have a hand raised with Philippe. Looks like he has a question.
Oh yes, sorry for that because I was presenting here. I did not see. Sure. What's the question?
Feel free to open your mic.
So sure. I have one question about commercial stuff. So do we need to pay some extra subscription for the agents, or do we have some kind of I don't know, maybe free
Yeah,
free
for
free per
the
month, right? There's a free subscription, something like that.
yeah for the Azure DevOps, for using the Azure DevOps agents, I think you have 1,800 minutes monthly, and you if you're using your machine as a build agent, limited build time for that. And for the AppCenter for commercial usage, I think you have 1 month trial period for that one.
That sounds
Yeah.
perfect. That sounds perfect. So another one question is, what if we build a native application with the C Sharp? That means the Xamarin iOS and the Xamarin Android. Can we use the? I think we can, but I'm not sure. Can we use the same approach for building the native application with the C Sharp? I mean the DevOps stuff and all that stuff. Can we use it?
I'm not sure if I'm getting well the question. So you're asking if you can build native apps besides the Xamarin apps,
So,
or?
so I think that right now is the question. We are using the Xamarin Forums as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking about can we use the same approach with the Xamarin native without the
Yeah,
Xamarin
yeah,
Forum
because now
approach.
we are building the native projects actually. I'm using the
Mm-hmm.
iOS as an example now. So you can build your Android project, and of course you can build them in native if you want to. So yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
get in native too. Yeah.
Do you know maybe what if for example if you are using for example Jira, like
Mm-hmm.
Jira is a very popular for the. I mean, if we are using the Jira, that means that there is no. We will not use the Azure DevOps story task. I think I'm not sure about that. So, is there any kind of synchronization between the Jira and the Azure DevOps? Or
Honestly, I'm not sure on that one. I'll have to check.
yeah, I mean that one is complicated. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. So if you have any more questions, I will just finish the session, and as Andrew told me later, we will have some time to do some discussions and question and everything. I will answer all the question if I know, of course. So here I can see, I will get back now to the presentation. Here I can see that under initialization passed and the initialization passed. The checkout, of course, it was successful. The NuGet restoring and the NuGet installer was successful, and building artifacts. Let's take a look quick here. We can see that one file was downloaded successful. So that is our APA file. Here it might take some time to build the UI test project. So let's see what. By using all this, we'll create the build assembly. So that was successful as well right now. So right now we'll have the build assemblies in our B folder, and next thing is to create a connection to the AppCenter. So this might take a while. Here we can see from the logs, we can see that the tests were being prepared. So that's done, and that's great. Now it's validating the arguments. That's done, and that's great. Creating new test run, that's done. It's validating the application file, the APA file, and that's done and successful. And now it's uploading our files on the AppCenter. So it find one accepted device, and that's the Apple ID. So current test status is validating and it's completed. So now it's waiting the devices to be run on the UI testing demo. Into UI testing demo project inside the AppCenter. So if I click here and go on the test runs, I can see that from November 2020 on the 1:26 a.m. a new test run was created and the validation was a success, completed. Now it's waiting for the devices. While we are waiting for this, I will get back to the presentation to show to see because now we explained the manual testing and the automated testing. I want to finalize this by telling you the differences between the automated and the manual testing. So let's so automated vs manual testing. Now I will just point out the pros of the automated testing. So if you're using an automated testing that detects of the bugs, and then you can detect bugs on lots of these devices and densities. You can see I've shown you that there are lots of iOS devices. If you create an Android project on the AppCenter, then you can see that there are lots of Android devices as well. For automated testing gives us a higher reliability. That means that they can be less. The error rate for the bugs can be the error rate is less than the manual testing. There is an optional human presence, meaning that you can run your test during the night, and in the morning you can see if they all failed or they passed. And you do not have to be. It's optional for you to wait for them like we do right now. So we are not waiting on them. I'm just explaining, and my tests are running in the background, which was not the case testing where I was required to do those tests. Next thing is that the text code change errors. This means that if we do some changes, not always we put focus on, not always we are sure that we do not break anything else. So for example, I will give a simple example here. If you are, for example, if you are having on a screen, and on that screen there are some labels, there are some entries, and you see that perfectly fine on your device. But maybe if you add something else on there and you forget to test on smaller devices, on the big device you see the screen perfectly, but on the smaller device you forget to check, and then you publish that, you push that on production, and the users are complaining because they're not seeing the full screen. That's something which will be detected on the automated testing, and the manual testing can be just forgotten. So also we can see on the AppCenter, besides the UI changes, it gives us information for the performance. Also, this can be executed on the multiple platforms at once, because we have now I was showing you for the iOS app. You can do that for the Android, and go on your Azure DevOps, queue for the Android and the iOS, and then they both will be executed at once. And this is the last one for the automated testing, means that by using the automated testing, we cannot forget to test something, which is we can have discussion on this one, because if you forget to write that on the test, then that will be not executed on the automated testing. But if you do some changes and then run the automated testing, it will never forget the edge cases. But the automated testing has some cons, meaning that the automated testing consumes time from creation and changes. So besides the development, you'll have to spend the time for creating the test. And if you do some changes, you will have to if you do some changes in the code, then you'll have to do some changes on the UA tests as well. But we know that time cost money, so that will that will cost your customer for the project, and of course the services for running this costs as well. What's next on the process? What's next on the process for the manual testing is that the manual testing detects UI and design inconsistency. If you get some design from designer, automated test could not tell you if there were some wrong fonts, if there were some wrong sizes for your labels, and etc. That can be visually seen by manual tester. So these are the general things of the general differences between the automated vs manual testing. So this is. We're done from the presentation. Let's get back to see if our test finished. Our test is not finished, but we'll not wait for them. For the time purposes, I will show you the one below, because what we expect from this UI test is to look something like this. Here, if I go back quickly, you can see that I put app screenshot register screen and app screenshot welcome screen. So on the beginning, it will take a screenshot on the register screen, and if this successfully passed, it will take a screenshot from the welcome screen. If I click here, you can see my test was successfully passed. And here there are screenshots from a register screen and from the welcome screen. Also here, as I show you in presentation, there are some performance information that will be registered. So that's all for now. I'm done. And if you have any questions, now we can have a discussion, and I will hope that I can answer you.
Thanks for that. Yep. That was really informative presentation. And before we go into group time, I think we got a bunch of questions that came through in the chat. I answered some of them if that was more Azure related stuff, but I'm going to just go through and re-ask them. I saw a bunch of questions about, is there a GitHub link? And I think the big question is there a way that you could share any of the build pipelines? Maybe you have like YAML file, like a YAML equivalent files. If you don't, that's fine. But a lot of people are looking at a way to reproduce this.
I don't have right now, but I will. I'm planning to write a blog on my website for this, for the automated testing. But of course, you will have the recording, I think. So you can watch that and right there, and I can share my project if you want. It's private right now, but I can make it public.
Perfect. All right. Going down the list, we have a question about how can I use AppCenter if how can I test a private or internal server apps which is only accessible via VPN only in AppCenter? So if we have an app that requires a VPN to hook into our enterprise services, how can we? Is there any way to do that with AppCenter?
I don't know if that makes any difference actually, but I'm not sure on this one. I'll have to check, but I don't think that it makes any difference if it's on internal service or it's using VPN or. I don't know if I'm getting the question well.
Yeah, I think we might need to get some more information on that one. The only thing I could think of from reading that is maybe the app needs an enterprise VPN to connect to the internal servers before it can run the app. Otherwise, the app won't work. So you might need to run additional steps in AppCenter to make those connections prior to running it.
Yeah. But I think that you can, because AppCenter here, AppCenter, if you go on the AppCenter, let me see if I can find that. The tests. I have now test runs. New test run here. Yeah, okay, I can go with this one. Let me just run that. Okay. I will use this one. Okay, next. Here, there is some setup that you can done by running the command line here. So I think that maybe here you can add your other
Can you share your screen?
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot that I'm not sharing anymore.
No problem.
Yeah. I will go through the steps one more time. Here on the App Center, I hope you're seeing my screen right now.
Perfect.
Okay, so here in the App Center, if you click New Test Run, choose the device set, choose this one here. You can see that there is there is a script that is actually the Azure task for the App Center. It is actually a script. So here I can think as another other tag, you can add whatever you want to put for VPN secrets or whatever. But I'm not sure for this one. I'm just lucky guessing here. So I think that you can add something else if you want for that VPN thing.
We'll give that a strong maybe.
Yeah. I will check that and get back when I find out. So something like that, because I haven't done that by now.
Perfect. Okay, going down the list, our next question is there any option for AppCenter or DevOps to share the results of the UI test through email?
I know that you can on the App Center. I know that no, that's only for the diagnostics, but
You should be able to do it with DevOps. Like AppCenter might not be able to do it with DevOps. You should be able to add a task that does that.
I think that there is not an option to do that actually, but you can enter your account on the App Center and just observe the tests.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's an option right now for that, actually. But
the only thing I could think of is if you added a custom task to your pipeline that email like a distribution list or something, you might be able to load the
screenshots from the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because there is a visual representation in the test, so I don't think that that's doable. Yeah, you can notify yourself that the run was successful. That's doable, but you cannot pull the screenshots and the other steps that were there from the devices. But of course, you can enter your App Center account.
All right. Moving down the list. We had a question about performance metrics, and you showed some of it. And the questions was based on how much memory is being used, battery life. I think you went over that. If there's more questions, details on that, I'll just ask the op to ask it.
Yeah. There is a hardware usage, a memory, and CPU usage, and also there are some metrics about the duration that this test run about that duration, and also gives you information for the device you are using.
All right.
Here, I've just noticed that there is an option to download this is according to the previous question. There's an option to download the logs from the App Center, but that is something similar which you can. You're not seeing in the logs. You're not seeing the screenshots, but you will have more details about what was done on that test. if that's something.
All right. So this is actually a question I had as well. Someone asks, can you run the tests locally on your Mac? So right now you have your machine set up as a build agent. Could you have, instead of having it run on AppCenter costs about $100 US dollars a month. Could you set it up so the build would trigger an automated test run on the simulator and everything locally?
Yeah, that's doable. I can. It's same as the unit test. I will share my screen again here. Okay, I will share my screen. So I hope you see it, right?
It's drawing. There you go. Okay, you can see it.
So here, if I click on the test, there is run test, and this will open the paths test results. Yeah, this one. So here my app will be initialized, and okay, I will close this one right now. And this also takes some time. We can wait, and you can go to the next question. So I will just get back to that, because this will build the test and will run on the simulator, which you can preview here. But
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
something like this I have to do. Okay. I have to run the project first.
I'm going to piggyback off this question before I go to the next one, because I'm kind of interested in it. So one of the things that I was curious about was you showed the manual tests at the beginning, and how do you link the new automated test that runs the same manual test? So when we run the build, it all shows up in DevOps as green check marks instead of having to manually go in there and do that. And then my bonus question to that is, can we hook it all up to run that locally? And then have the report.
Yes, I don't know that actually.
Okay, and then that's a fine answer. That's something that I've been trying to figure out how to get all those pieces connected myself. So
okay, to see let's get back for the previous question, because I see that the test run here. For the Android, the error is that I have not created devices, but this will run successfully for the Android if I create an Android device. Now you can see it for the iOS, so it's starting because I have only one test. If I had multiple UI tests here and click on run, all of them will appear here for both of the platforms, because I have Android and iOS. And you can see here, let's wait a little bit. So it will run the app, and it will type inside of the app, so we can see that visually. Okay.
all right.
So
You want to go on to the next question while we wait?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question is asking, have you looked at Browser Stack and integrating that with Azure DevOps? Because AppCenter, we just mentioned, costs about $100 US a month.
Yeah.
Would these same techniques work with Browser Stack? Do you know?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know. Yeah.
Samir, I'm going to need you to go and research that, and then you can come back in December and do the presentation.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
You have really good questions, but I did not know many of them. Actually, I don't know why.
My favorite part is when someone asks a really good question, it's their turn to go and do the research and come back and do the presentation. We don't know the answer.
Yeah, that can be.
It's fine. Okay. Next question down the list is asking about GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions so far doing the equivalent of Azure DevOps. So do you mind if I take that one, Stefanija? Because I actually have a lot of information about that.
Yeah, of course.
So if if you haven't guessed, GitHub Actions is built on top of Azure DevOps. When you look at the builds, it's using the exact same terminal interface. They've changed it slightly. The tooling is different, and how it reads the YAML is different, but it's actually built right. It's using the exact same servers. So you can do the equivalent with GitHub Actions. As far as I understand right now, it's going to be a lot more work because they don't have the predefined tasks. Don't quote me on that one. Really don't quote me on that one. But you would need to write the CLI commands by hand and then put that into your YAML file for GitHub Actions to get that to work. It'd be a lot more difficult unless you had a very good reason, like you were all on GitHub. I would just use the pipelines because it'd be easier. But that's a very loaded statement. Moving down to the next one. Is there a good way to detect if you have a messed up UI? So let's say it works really good. Like this is really prevalent in the Android space because there's so many devices out there. But let's say it works really great on like your Pixel 3, and then you use a device that's running like Android 6 and a super small screen. Is there a good way to detect if the UI doesn't look right, or is that going to be more for manual testers?
For manual testing, actually, I usually pick the device which has a big screen, the smaller screen, and the smallest screen. So, and then, or I choose one emulator and simulate and change the screen on that device for. I use the same device but change the screen size actually. So that's what I do for manual testing. For the automated testing on the AppCenter for Android, you have lots of I think there are thousands of devices for Android. I'm not sure on that one, but I think there are lots of devices where you can select from small to big screen.
I think the best advice is, if you wanted to automate that, just take the screenshots and look at them afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. It's optional to take the screenshots. You can take, but if some views are not visual, and if you add here in the test to find some view by some ID, it does not find on the screen, the test will fail actually. So you can see which test fail, and you can see that if you took a screenshot, you can see why the test failed. If you do not took a screenshot, then it will add some comment that will say that the app did not find the UI tests. Did not find the element on your screen. I don't know why this failed. Actually, there is some error, unable to connect to the device agent. I don't know why it does not want to connect to the device, but actually that's the procedure. You click on run here, and it will run on your device.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. If anyone else has any other questions, I've gone through all of the chat. Feel free to open your mic to ask the question. If there are no other questions, though, going once, going twice. All right, hold on. Oh, we got someone messaging.
Oh, yeah, here, me. Hello.
All right, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hey, Stefanija, awesome work. Thank you so much for sharing your stuff with us.
Thank you for joining us.
When can we expect those new awesome articles?
For the UI tests, I will publish it really soon, actually, because I have this done here. So
maybe like 1 month.
Oh no, it will be in a few days, not 1 month.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, I don't feel pressure. I don't know.
All right. I am going to share my screen and we will wrap up here. What screen am I supposed to share? Let's try this one. All right. We are about to break into group time again. Stefanija, thank you so much for coming and doing the presentation today. This was really a phenomenal talk and really informative. Hope everyone got as much out of it as I did. Our next meeting is TBD. I have not found somebody for December yet, and if I don't find anyone, we're just going to wait until the new year to get together because of all the holidays in December. But if anyone does want to present in December, get a hold of me, Twitter, email, snail mail. Don't come to my house. We're in a pandemic. But get a hold of me. We'd love to have you come and present next time. And we will go into group time. Let me stop the recording if I can find the button because I can never find the buttons. And thanks again, everyone, for coming. We'll see you next time.